So I just finished part 2 of The Hero of Ages, and what I'm going to do is go through what's happened and then make some predictions moving forwards for the rest of this book and the rest of this series. And honestly, loads has happened in this section. And typical Brandon Sanderson, it really sets up like a brand new storyline for this book in this section. And the brand new storyline that we seem to be getting is going to be the storyline with Spook, Sazed, and I believe it's Breeze over there as well, with the Citizen, and attempting to have like a second revolution almost in that city, which I think is going to be really exciting. And I've been really happy that we've had Spook as a main character in this book, because he's always kind of been the baby of the group, the baby of the gang, the one who kind of gets pushed to the side because he doesn't have the same abilities or experience, or really just value, if we're honest, as anybody else in the gang. So to see him get the spotlight, and in a really interesting way, has been awesome. And we learned some amazing things. So first of all, we realized that he has now become a tin savant. And being a savant means that if you burn a metal for long enough, you essentially always get those abilities, but you can't turn them off, which is really interesting. So not only is he a tin savant, but he also sees ghost form Kelsier, which kind of blew my mind, because this opens up so many possibilities. If Kelsier is still around watching over the gang, not only does that make me feel amazing, but it just means that there can be something after death for certain people. So if those people who are talented, and I would guess based on the name Preservation, it was preservation that had something to do with it, I would guess you'd have to be an allomancer, or maybe even a mistborn. Potentially you have to be a mistborn for preservation to want to keep you around. But there's someone else we know who was a mistborn and had allomantic powers and had touched preservation, and that is the Lord Ruler. So is there any chance that the figure that was in the mist isn't necessarily preservation itself, but maybe that was the Lord Ruler, or maybe that was Kelsier all along? Who knows? But it does open up a lot of possibilities. But not only is the figure there, not only is Kelsier there as well, but Kelsier was able to gift the power of burning pewter to Spook. So now Spook is not only a tin savant, but has the power to burn pewter. So he is just slingshotted into being one of the more powerful people in, well, probably the most powerful person on our side, outside of Vin and outside of Elend, which is crazy because Spook, as I said, has kind of been the baby of the gang for the duration of the trilogy so far. But more importantly, as soon as I found out you could become a savant by constantly burning a metal, I had an idea. And the idea is this: well, what if you were to burn some of the other metals, right? And I don't know if a mistborn can become a savant, because they do end up burning other metals as well. Maybe you would have to only commit to burning one and one only for that to happen. But let's say if you non-stop burned atium, there's some problems. Number one, you'd need an unlimited supply of atium, which is really hard to get. You'd also need a lot of time to be able to become an Atium Savant. This seems like it's not going to be possible, but there is one person who had access to huge amounts of atium. They also had a huge amount of time on their hands to play with it. Plus, we don't know where all their atium is. So, is it all coming together? The only problem with that theory, that the Lord Ruler was burning atium to become a savant, there's a lot of problems with it. Number one, I don't see what the benefit would be. I assume what it would do is allow you to see into the future and see everything that's going to happen, maybe in a lot of different ways. But if that was the case, then how on earth was Vin able to defeat him? And how were they able to catch him by surprise with like Marsh, for example? Because he should have been able to see Marsh and seen what he was going to do. Surely if you become a savant, you see more than just like a couple of seconds in the future of people. You probably see, well, I don't know how long, but a long way in the future. So I don't see the benefit of it at all, unfortunately. However, it would add up. But anyway, back to this storyline. So with the Citizen, it is clear the Citizen does believe in the Church of the Survivor. So if Kelsier were to appear, maybe appear to the citizen, maybe we wouldn't need a revolution, potentially. Another person who's in desperate need of Kelsier showing up and giving him some faith would probably be Sazed. So Sazed has lost all faith. He doesn't believe in any religions, least of all the Church of the Survivor, except for obviously he had that conversation with Spook near the end of this section, which maybe set his mind reeling. But if Kelsier were to appear, it would give him so much belief, because obviously he could then believe in Kelsier, but two, he knew Kelsier, he knew he wasn't a god before, and now he would see him as this godlike figure, I suppose, and it would probably give him faith back in his other religions as well. So more than anyone, Sazed needs a visit from Kelsier. So on to Ruin and Preservation, and we learn some more. So the black smoke that was around Ruin, or around the well, sorry, was kind of the personification. Well, not personification because it's not a person, but that was like the body, I suppose, of Ruin. In the same way, the mists, we assume, are the body of Preservation. We also know there were 9 original nuggets of allomancy from the body of Preservation. And we find out that Hemalurgy is just stealing that power. So, you know, Ruin cannot create, he can only destroy, it would seem. I still think this world is reaching out and needing balance. I still think there's going to be a third force that gives balance, because the Lord Ruler touched Preservation, which is really cool. I love the Lord Ruler's story now. I think it's incredible. I'd love to go back and learn more. And the narrator is actually giving us a lot more of the Lord Ruler's story. And what I mean by the narrator is the person who is writing the preamble before every single chapter, essentially. So we are getting some cool information there. But back to the story. So Preservation was touched by Rashek. Ruin was touched by Vin very, very briefly. And we know her earring reacted terribly to Ruin, but now the mists are avoiding her. And the mists are avoiding her because she touched Ruin, but she doesn't know that yet. But that's what I believe is happening. Plus, there's a chance the mists are avoiding her, not just because she touched Ruin, but because her earring touched Ruin and seemed to maybe absorb some of it somehow. Maybe that's Hemalurgy, you know, because Ruin's power is Hemalurgy. Maybe some of its power was put into the earring, and I think that's why she's able to pierce copper clouds. It's because she's got that in her ear, so it's piercing her skin. So she doesn't know it yet, but maybe she has a hemalurgic spike in her ear, and that's why she can pierce copper clouds over the duration of the time. Maybe it was before. Maybe that's been a hemalurgic spike the entire duration, because she could pierce copper clouds before that. And she's always heard her brother's voice in her ear, and it seems very realistic. So, and that's like a property of it. So I'm very obsessed with this earring. Every video I've been mentioning something about it, but I believe it's a hemalurgic spike. I think that's why the mists don't want to touch her or anything to do with her. I think it's how we're going to defeat Ruin somehow. And I also think it is also a hemalurgic spike. So those are my guesses on the earring. One thing I can't get my head around is why there are such specific percentages dying in the mists. It all kind of leads towards this balance thing again, but I don't have any concrete guesses or answers on that, unfortunately. Also, Tensoon escapes from the Kandra. I think Tensoon will come and get Vin, tell Vin of what is happening with the Kandra, and then Vin will go with Tensoon back to the Kandra, convince them, do what she needs to do, get the trust, whatever the trust is, grab that, it's clearly important, and bring it back. While she's doing that, Elend is going to deal with the caches, the Lord Ruler's like caches and caverns full of supplies, and he's going to try and figure that out, which is going to be really fun. So I think that's what we got set up for our story. And then obviously Spook, Sazed, and Breeze are going to be dealing with the citizen. And my final guess is that Human is going to be really important. The Colossus that Vin is calling Human. I believe that the Colossus will give some information to Vin that will be extremely important in them winning this battle. And before I finish up, I do have a question for you. So would you rather have a Kandra or a Colossus as like a sidekick? And I think the answer is obvious, a Kandra, right? But having a 12-foot Colossus as a sidekick would definitely have some benefits as well. Just saying. Outside of that, it's quite a short video today. It was a lot of prep work in this section and subtle hints given out. I'm going to jump straight into the next section, but if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next Sunday. Have a good day.